Flack math! Give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Flack math!
All right, so we are going to do number 1 first, because that's normally what you do. So 1 month, lose weekly grocery bills were blah, 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 okay? Find, lose average weekly grocery bill. How do you find the average of 4 numbers? You don't have to answer. I'm just asking rhetorically, but you can shout it out if you got it. Adeline, what do you got?
Add them all together and then multiply by the number.
That's right.
I mean 5.
So 113.96 plus, you add them all together, and then you divide by the number of numbers. Anybody have that answer? So I'm gonna add them together. I'm gonna cheat on a calculator. Sorry, just for time's sake. So 113.96 plus 99.21 plus 128.95. What did I miss? 93.20 plus 93. Okay, divide by 4. Looks like 108.83. Is that what you guys got? Yes, Kiara, is your hand raised?
Yes, I thought that when you divide by the number of numbers there, I thought that was finding the mean of it.
Yep, the mean and the average are the same word.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, good question. I'm glad that you asked that because other students might be confused by that. So good job. So add them all up, divide by 4. Can you guys handle a problem like that on the test? All right, good thumbs up. Number 2, the price was reduced. What does it mean to reduce price? It's a nice little subtraction problem. We like those subtraction problems, especially Black Friday's coming up. There'll be a lot of subtraction problems that you can figure out in your head. All right, price was reduced from 9,000. So we have to translate this into numbers. 9,000, okay, 9 comma, $521, 521 to $3,267. How much was the price reduced? So this is what we don't know. So we're subtracting this unknown and we're left with this number, 3,267. Okay, so how do we find this missing number? Kiara?
You subtract the
right
that we have with the answer.
Okay, so it's either when you're missing something in a subtraction problem, you're either going to add or subtract. But if you add, that doesn't make sense because then when you do put it back in the problem, you're subtracting a bigger number. That's a major discount. I don't think stores will owe you money for buying something. That's not how that works. So it's another subtraction problem. All right, so let's subtract that. So show as much work as you can, because if I see that you're doing the right problem, but then you might mess up the subtraction a little bit, then I'll still give you partial credit, okay? Okay, is this what you guys got?
Yeah.
How can you be sure that that's right?
Well, we can't see the answer, so we're not sure.
Oh, you can't see it? Is my face in the way?
Yeah.
Stupid face. Why don't you just leave us alone, face? Okay, well, can you see it now? No? Okay, that's all right. Here, now you see it. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you guys good with that? You guys good with number 2? All right, the thing with word problems, guys, get them out of English as fast as you can into math, because it's confusing. Word problems are confusing because they use words. Use math to do math, not words. All right, number 3, a 1-year subscription to a monthly magazine is $41.40. The regular newsstand price, so this is per month, per issue is $4.25. How much is saved per year by paying the subscription price? Well, if we divide this yearly cost by 12, that will tell us what we're actually paying a month if we do the yearly subscription. So let's do that. So 12 goes into 41 3 times with 5 left over. Remember, dirty monkeys smell bad. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. All right, bring down the 4. 12 goes into 54 4 times. Multiply, 48, subtract, 6, bring down 5. Okay, the decimal goes straight up. Remember, when we're dividing by a whole number, you just bring the decimal straight up. So this is how much we're saving. This is not how much we're saving. This is how much a monthly issue is. So this is per month if we pay the monthly subscription. So see how that's a better deal. And it usually is. But that's not what the question asks. The question asks, how much is saved per year? Oh, well, you know what? We did it the wrong way. We can subtract this and figure out how much we save per month, and then we'd have to multiply by 12. Or we can take this amount, $4.25, and how do I figure out how much you're paying in a year if you just buy it every month at a newsstand? What do you do? Kiara? Multiply by 12. All right, so 12 times 4.25. Let's do that. So that's, so let me do that in my head. 42.50 plus another 8.50 is $51. Is that what you guys got? 51 bucks? Yeah? Okay, so how much are you saving? Now you can subtract your yearly subscription minus 41.40, and I think you save $9.60 per year. All right. Now you could have gotten it this way. You subtract that, and I think you get, what is that per issue? 80 cents per issue. Guess what 80 cents times 12 months is? $9.60. So you could have done it that way too. And if you did it wrong and you answered like how much you save per month, I'll probably still give you credit for that. Okay. You just answered your own question instead of the question they asked. But you understand the concept. Okay. Any questions with number 3? You guys good? All right. Number 4. Ivan ran 1 lap in 1 minute and 2 seconds. Donovan ran 1 lap 7 seconds faster than Ivan. How many seconds did it take Donovan to run 1 lap? So what does it mean to be 7 seconds faster? How do you figure that out? Kiara?
Did you add?
So that's the trick of this question, because adding time means you're slower, right? So if you do it faster than 1 minute and 2 seconds, 1 minute and 2 seconds, well, let's just convert that to just 62 seconds. Does everyone understand why it's 62 seconds? Because that's 1 minute, which is 60 seconds, plus 2 seconds. So I'm going to subtract 7 seconds. So then we're down to 55 seconds. Okay? So just run that through back in your head after you finish it. If you would have added, you would have had 69 seconds. That's not faster. That's slower, right? So when you think of the word faster, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh, that's better. So I have to add. No. In time, faster means you subtract that time, okay? Everyone clear on number 4? Okay, let's move on to number 5. The perimeter of a square, okay, equals the perimeter of a regular heptagon. What's heptagon? How many sides is that? Hold up your fingers. How many sides is a heptagon? Okay, I think I see 7. Yes. So remember, hexagon is 6. Heptagon is 7. All right. So if the perimeter equals so let's see, if this was like this is a variable s, Each side of the square is 28 centimeters. Okay, so 28 centimeters. So let's find that perimeter of the square. How do you find the perimeter of a square if you're only given one side? Yeah, Adeline?
You add 28 plus 28, or 28 times 4,
Yep.
because it's a square, so it's all the same.
Good. So you can add 28 4 times, or the shortcut to doing that is just multiplying times 4. So then that is 112. What is it in centimeters? So that's the perimeter of the square. But this also equals the perimeter of the heptagon. So now what do? How do you find how long each side of the heptagon is? Okay, I see Grady in the back. What do you got, Grady?
You divide 112 by 7.
Yeah, so I didn't draw that correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's pretty good. Okay, so if the whole distance around, remember regular means all sides are the same. So now it's 112 divided by 7. And you can do that. How many times does 7 go into 11? 1 time. And then with 4 left over. So how many times does 7 go into 42? 6. So 16 centimeters per side. That was a really tricky problem. So it's not like, what's 2 plus 2? You had to do a lot of math in that problem, okay? So show as much work as you can, and if you do something wrong, I'm still gonna give you credit for what you did correctly, okay? All right, can you guys handle a tricky puzzle like that? Okay, number 6 is 2 parts, A and B. Draw a diagram of the statement. You do not have to draw a diagram, so don't, if that confuses you, then don't do it. Answer the questions that follow. 2/5 of the 45 coins in the purse were silver. How many coins were silver? Okay, well, you could just say, what's 2/5 of 45? There's 2 ways to do this. Remember, you could find 1/5 of 45. Finding 1/5 of something is just dividing it by 5. Okay, so 1/5 is just 9, right? 1/5 of 45 is 9. So 2 is 18. So 18 coins are silver. So how many of the coins were not silver? Well, that's 45 minus 18. 45 minus 18 is 27, I think. Yeah, 27 were not. So 18 silver, then 27 not, okay? If you drew a diagram, you could do that like fifths, right? So if I drew a diagram here and there's 45 total, and I separate this into 5 equal sections, well, if there's 45 total, then each equal section is going to have 9 in it. So here's the nice diagram. So 2 are silver, and then 3 of those 3/5 are not. So see how 9 plus 9 plus 9 is 27, but 9 plus 9 is just 18. So you can draw a diagram too. The other way to do it is what is of in math? I just said it. What's of mean? Multiplication, right? So how do you multiply 2/5 times 45? Well, you could do that. 2/5 times 45 is just 2 over 5 times 45 over 1, right? Because you can only multiply fractions with fractions. So convert it by just throwing it over 1. You can cross reduce. 2 times 9 is 18. So you could do it that way too. There's plenty of ways you could do this. You could even just count it out in your head and give me the right answer. All right? There's not a wrong way to do this. Well, I guess there is if you do it wrong, but there's plenty of ways you can do this. All right, you guys good? Should we move on to number 7? All right. I don't see any hands, so we're moving on. Number 7, what number is halfway between 18 and 19? Well, you could probably figure this out in your head. but you can always find this is the quick way, is find the average. And not necessarily the quick way right now, because you can figure out that it's 18.5, right? But, or 18 and a half, same thing. But if you add these together, you get 37 divided by 2. 37 divided by 2 is 18.5, okay? The quickest way sometimes to find the average, or halfway between the two numbers, is the average of two numbers, okay? So, but if they're whole numbers, then you could usually just count them out. Number 7's pretty easy. You guys can handle that? Okay, number 8. Find the least common multiple of 5, 10, and 8. Least common multiple is not the greatest common factor. The least common multiple is what the common number that these three numbers go into, not what goes into it. So it's not 1. It's not the greatest common factor. The least common multiple is 5, 10, and 8. Okay? Yes, Kiara, question? Speak up real loud.
Is it 40?
Yeah, let's try it. I think you're right. So if you just list, what I usually do is I take the biggest number and I list the multiples of that. So 10, 20, 30, and then I stop when I get to one that I know is a multiple of both. And there it is. So 5 goes into everything that 10 does. So I can just ignore that 5 because 5 is going to go into all the multiples of 10, right? But 8 and 10 is the one I'm worried about. So I'm just going to list the multiples of 10 until I get to a multiple of 80. 8 doesn't go into 10, it doesn't go into 20, it doesn't go into 30, it goes into 40. So boom. The other way to do this is with factoring, with doing the factor trees, right? Let me look at the actual test and see if it's too complicated, but for now you can just do it this way. Just list out the multiples and pick the one that they have in common. The first one that all three of them have in common, okay? Let me just check real quick. What test are we on? 7? Okay, find the least common multiple of, okay. It might take you a minute, but you could, it's gonna be trickier. But it just might take you a little bit longer to figure out the least common multiple of those two. Actually, no, it's not going to take you long at all. You'll figure it out quick, okay? So just list the multiples of all the three numbers and then circle the one they have in common, the first one they have in common. You guys good? Okay. All right, number 9, round to the nearest hundredth and then to the nearest 100. So big difference. 100 with lots of spit and then 100. Okay, so I'm going to write the number here. First step to rounding is to circle the digit you're asked to round to. So if this is A, I'm going to circle the nearest 100th is that second 2, right? The 100th is in the second decimal place after the decimal. And then I'm going to look at that 4 to tell me how to round this. All right, so it looks like that 4 is 4 or below, so keep it low, right? So, and then I can just ignore that. After I use this for information, interrogate this 4, remember, then I eliminate them because I'm heartless tortured guy. All right, so everyone good with that? So B is different. It's still the same number. So I'm going to rewrite the number here, 1832.2243. And then I'm asked to round to the nearest 100. Okay, the nearest 100, well, 8 is in the hundreds place. 100 is 3 over from the decimal. So I'm looking at that 3 to help me decide how to round this. But with whole numbers, you have to replace those with zeros. So 3 says keep it low, so keep that 8 the same, don't go up. So you have to replace that with zeros until you get to the decimal. So you don't need to say 0.0000. You can just leave it like that. Okay? Does that feel all right? Rounding to decimals and rounding to whole numbers? Can you guys do that? Can you handle it? Okay. So the other option is just turn them all to zeros. If I had 0, 0 here, and then just trim off the crusts, trim off the zeros that you don't need. See how you do need these zeros. Otherwise the answer would be 18. That's no bueno. You need those zeros, but you don't need 0.00 or 0000. Okay, good, good. All right. Moving on to number 10, simplify. All right, all right, all right. 340 divided by 720. So we're going to start reducing the crap out of this. What's the most obvious thing that goes into both of these? Shout it out if you know it. Or it doesn't have to be the obvious one, but what's the nice first trick we can do? Dividing by what? Yeah, Adeline?
Do it by 10.
Yeah, 10. So when you divide by 10 and they end in zeros, just take off the zeros. That's nice, right? Okay, and then we can divide, it looks like they're both even numbers, so let's divide by 2. So what's 34 divided by 2? 17. 72 divided by 2 is 36. Boom, you're done. You didn't have to do it that way. You could have divided by whatever you wanted to. We could divide by 5 goes into those. Just keep dividing both the top and bottom until you can't divide anymore. All right? Yes, Kiara.
I got 340 over 720, and it took a little longer because I did 170 over 360, 85 over 180, and then I got to 17 over 36.
Yep. So you can get there in different ways. Just make sure you get to the right answer. Good job. So if I would have divided by 20 instead of 10 and then 2, that would have gotten me directly to this simplified fraction in lowest terms. Okay. So you don't have to divide, but you don't have to find the greatest common factor first. Just break it down, divide it until you can't divide it anymore. All right. You guys good with 1 through 10? All right, let's move on. Number 11. What number's halfway between 59 and 60? Didn't we do one like this already? Yeah. Why do we have 2 of these? That's silly. So 59 and a half, right? But if you want to add them up and divide by 2, you're more than welcome to do that, but that seems silly. Okay, now we're going to plot some points. All right already. Okay, so I don't think we have enough room. Do we not have enough room? So this is going to be pushing it, but I'm going to go like this. So here's my graph. Okay, so we're going to remember this is left or right. So this is left 5. And then the second number is up or down, and then down 1. Right? So left 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down 1, boom. So far, so good? Okay, so that's one of the vertices. And then 4, negative 1. So that's right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then down 1. Okay, and then the next one is 4 down 8. So down over 4 and then down 8. I guess I could have made this a little higher, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so do you see the rectangle so far? Let's figure out the dimensions here. So what's this dimensions? Let's see here. It's let's see, it'd be 5 plus 4, right? So this is 9. So if I connected the dots here, then it would, that 4th vertice would have to be there, right? So this is 9. And this goes down, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops, I went down too far there.
4.
Did you guys see that I went down too far? So this is 7. And this is another 9 and another 7 up here. So what's this going to be? What are the coordinates of that? Well, let's see. I go left 5, just like I did in that first point, and then I go down 8, just like I did in that last point. So this is left 5, down 8. Does that make sense? Okay, so draw it out. You'll be able to see your rectangle. And then it says find the area. How do you find the area of a rectangle? Just length times width, right? What's the length and what's the width? 9 is the length, 7 is the width, not 6, 7. 9 times 7 is 63, and your label is just square units or SQ units. Does that feel okay? That was pretty complicated too. So you have to learn how to plot points. You have to learn how to read points, like where they are on the graph, be able to tell me the coordinates. And then you have to know how to find the area of a rectangle, length times width, or base times height. Okay, can you guys do all 3 of those? Okay. All right, number 13, we're gonna solve for S. So basically solving is we wanna figure out what you have to multiply by S to get whatever's on the right side. So let's clean up what we can first. So 7S equals 5 times 49. There's an easier way to say 5 times 49. It's 245. Just multiply, clean it up. So now it's cleaned up. So now how do you figure out what you multiply by S by 7 by to get 245? What do you do? What do you do? Shout it out.
Divide.
Divide. So divide 245 by 7. 7 goes into 24 3 times. With 3 left over, 7 goes into 35 5 times. So S equals 35. Nice. Does that feel okay? Good. All right. Number 14. Oh, use words to write. Okay, since I took up space here, I'm going to write the words over on this guy over here, okay? So I'm going to use red here. So remember, the first step is to just write that number first, and then you're going to say the word and then you're going to say this number, and then the last word you say is what place value that ends in. Okay, so I'm going to say 237, 230 hyphen 7. Don't forget the hyphen. And then I'm going to say and. Okay, so the decimal point there, I'm going to say and. And then I'm going to say the last half, which is 208. Ugh. And then the last thing we do is we write what place value it ends with. So 3 decimal places over from the decimal is the thousandths. Okay, thousandths. Don't forget the THS on the end, okay? Because it's not thousand, it's thousandths. Okay? Don't come near this desk. It's not safe. It's very juicy. Okay, you guys good? Can you guys do that? Number 14, can you write the decimal out and with words? Good? All right. Moving on to number 15. Number 15, 2.5 times 2.5. Well, how do you multiply decimals? Well, you probably know, but since we're on Zoom, it's hard to answer. So remember, you just multiply normally. I know 25 times 25, you can multiply it normally, but I know it's 625. Okay, but then where do you put the decimal? Well, this is where you count the total number of decimal places. So there's 1 decimal place in this number and 1 decimal place in this number. So the total number of decimal places is 2. So that's how many decimal places need to be in your answer. So 1, 2 over. So 6.25 is your answer. Is that what you got, Kiara?
Yeah, you could also think of it as money.
Yeah, money too. So 2.5 times $2.50. That makes sense that you have more, that you have 2 times $2.50 is $5. Then another half of $2.50 is another $1.25. That makes sense. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? Literally makes sense, because if it's money, just forget it. Whatever. Okay, number 16. Divide. Okay. How do you divide? How do you divide with decimals? Where do you put the decimal in your answer? Grady.
Just put it straight above.
Straight above it. Now, we'll talk about what happens when you divide by decimals, but since we're dividing by whole numbers, you just put the decimal straight up. Now you can forget about it. You can forget about the decimal, just divide normally. 3 doesn't go into 2, but it goes into 27 9 times. 9 times 3 is 27, subtract, blah, blah, 0, bring down 3. 3 goes into 3 one time, boom, you're done. Go, moving on. Does that make sense? That's okay, right? Don't forget that decimal. All right, number 17, how do you add decimal numbers? What's the rule? Just the same rule as you line it up by place value. And having a decimal there makes it easy because you can just line up the decimals. But what we're going to do is we're going to add zeros in empty spots. So then we're not confused. So then when we add them together, 3 plus 0 is 3. 2 plus 0 plus 5 is 7. 3 plus 1 plus 8 is 12. Boom, you're done. That's not bad, right? Can you guys handle that? Line up the decimals. Don't go right justified like you normally do. The reason you did that in the past with whole numbers is because you lined up the place values. You're still adding the ones with ones and the tens with tens, or no, there's no tens in here, but there's 10, 100. So add place values. Keep the place values the same. All right, you guys good with number 17? All right, 3 more. Number 18. Same rule. You subtract decimals by lining up place value or lining up the decimals. And then it's a great idea to add some zeros here, because if you don't, you're going to get confused. Because if you did this really quick, you'd probably say 6. No, add that 0 there. So if I add a 0 there, now I can subtract. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, 12.024. That looks right. How can you be sure it's right? Can't hear you, but I'm sure you're thinking, well, just add them. Yeah. If you add these 2 bottom numbers together, make sure you get 14.170. And you do, I think. Do you? Yeah, you do. All right. You guys good with that? All right, moving on. Number 19. Order of operations. Do what's inside parentheses first. So I'm going to do this guy first. So let's do that. How do you multiply fractions? Well, you could cross reduce, or you could just multiply and then reduce. Well, this 4 and this 6 reduces to 2 and 3, right? So now when I multiply across, I'll get 9/14. So this is 4 1/3. And I'm going to subtract 9/14. So when you add or subtract fractions, it's always better to do it vertically, because then you can set up your equivalent fractions with a common denominator a lot easier. So what's the common denominator of 3 and 42? Well, not a number that we're totally familiar with, but we can do that. 42. Actually, 42 is the answer to everything. The universe, right? What's that? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? I think that's it. Okay, so how do you find how do you find these new numerators? This is what I heard. Okay, Whatever you do to the bottom, do to the top. So what do you multiply by 3 to get 42? Well, we just did it, 14. So 1 times 14 is 14. And then 14 times 3 to get 42. So 9 times 3 is 27. Okay, now we've got a problem. So what do we do here? We've got a problem because you can't subtract 14 minus 27. Hold on one sec. No. Okay, so you have to borrow. You have to borrow from the only thing you can borrow from, which is the whole number, which is the ones group. So when you borrow a 1, you're not borrowing a little one, you're borrowing a big one. Okay? So now you still can't subtract, but you can change this to an improper fraction. 42 times 1 plus 14 is 56 40-seconds. Now I can subtract 56 minus 27, which is 29 40-seconds. 3 minus nothing is 3. That's one way to do it. The other way is just change it to improper fractions right away, and you'll have bigger numbers, but it could be easier. So I could just say, what is that, 13 thirds minus 9 14ths, right? Now you just get a common denominator. So this is times 14. Okay, so 13 times 14 is a little bit bigger of a number, but I can do that. So 13 times 14 is 182 thirds, 182 or 14ths. Nope, 40-seconds, sorry. And this is still 27 40-seconds. So when you subtract, you get 155 40-seconds, but this is the same answer as 3 and 29 40-seconds, okay? So if the borrowing thing confuses you, just change them to improper fractions and go for it, okay? Can you guys do one of those two ways? Okay. All right, so same thing here, do parentheses first. So let's see, we're gonna, when I do those parentheses, I'm gonna add those. So we're gonna have to do that. So I'm gonna change this right here on the paper to 2/4, right? 6 1/4 plus 6 1/2. Well, 1/2 is just 2/4. So this is just 6, or this is 12. When I add them together, I get 12 3/4. Okay, so when you add those together, you get 12 3/4. Well, this one's a little different. This is 6, and you're trying to subtract 1/4. Well, this is just 6 0/4. Or if I borrow, this is 5 4/4. Right? Do you see if I borrow a whole number? See how 5 4/4 is the same thing as 6? Because 4/4 is just 1. So 5 4/4 is just 5 and 1, which is 6. Okay? So 5 4/4 minus 4 1/4. Well, I can subtract. 4/4 minus 1/4 is 3/4. Then 5 minus 4 is 1. So now I've got this division problem. 12 3/4 divided by 1 3/4. So we don't divide mixed numbers. What do we do first? Kiara? So we copy dot flop, but we have nothing to flop yet. So what do we do before we copy dot flop? Yeah, is that you, Avery? Yes, improper those mixed numbers. So 48 plus 3 is 51/4 divided by 7/4. So far, so good. Okay, now you can copy dot flop. There's another shortcut way to do this, but I'm not gonna confuse you right now with that. So copy dot flop, copy 51. So we're gonna copy dot flop. I'm gonna write that. Copy 51/4. We're gonna dot the division sign, and we're gonna flop the 7/4. So 51/4 copied, dot, and flop the 7/4 to 4/7. And look what happens. This is nice. The 4's cancel. So you're just left with 51/7. Or 7 2/7, right? Okay, how's this feel, guys? That's all 20 questions. Does that work? All right, if you do have questions, if you have more questions, you can message me on Schoology. But the test, we're going to start taking it on Thursday. And then if you don't, then you're going to take it home with you and you're going to turn it in online. All right. So you'll still be able to make corrections and well, to check your work when you get home if you want to look at it farther, then you can keep working on it. Just turn it in before midnight Thursday night. Okay. You guys good? All right. Good job. I'm going to sign out. If you guys want to complete some problems, try to finish. You've got like 20 minutes, a little bit less than 20 minutes. So just let Mrs. Felmley know how many problems you finish. Be respectful of each other. And yeah, I'll see you. All right. See you guys.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.